Good afternoon. It's April 28th, 2024. This is the fifth Sunday of the Easter season. And the Gospel today invites us to reflect upon the imagery of the vine and the branches. And Jesus often uses agricultural images to try and make his point. The problem that you and I struggle with today is that how many people are really connected to the farm anymore? How many of us are connected to agriculture? And in some of these beautiful imageries that Jesus uses, we kind of get lost in them. Most of us, when it comes to understanding plants and growing plants and that kind of thing, think about we put seeds in the ground, the seeds come up. But here it's slightly different because the vine, we're talking about grapes. And the vine is that root source, right? And from the vine comes up the branches. And there's a number of ways that the branch grows out of the vine. One is you can graft them on, which is, when people come to the church at a later stage in life. But then you have the people who begin as part of the church from their birth and that kind of thing. But in each case, the question is, what is the fruit that you produce? How well do you produce the fruit? And do we need some pruning? One of the images that I found very interesting was in my travels, talking to a very old vine grower. And he talked about when he was quite young that in the fields, in the vineyards, if you had a field that was getting old and its production was dwindling and diminishing and that kind of thing, they'd actually go in there and they'd burn the whole field. And they would burn it in such a way that they made sure that the rootstock, the vine, was not damaged. And the ash from the branches would then fertilize the vines, and you would come up with an even better and a more wondrous crop of fruit, of grapes, which can be turned into wine. And the problem with that is it takes a lot of years for those branches to redevelop and the produce to come back into its usual or better form. But burning down the field is kind of not what Jesus does. What God does is he prunes us. He reminds us. And sometimes we find in our suffering and our struggles and our trials and tribulations is when we produce the best fruit. A number of years ago, Father Rock was in the parish and he started something called food hampers for the university students. And it seemed like a very good idea, but it was one of those things where you had no idea how it was going to take off. It actually took off quite wonderfully. But there was some pushback because some of the people were a little concerned because we're doing these hampers, these food hampers for these university students, and some people are going, well, wait a minute, what happened to their money? And you get some people going, well, wait a minute, they're probably eating pizza and drinking beer, and that's where their money is going, and that's why they have no food. The downside of it is we're not here to judge people. We're here to see a need and then adjust to the need and to help out where we can. And so the thing is, I'm not here to judge whether or not they eat pizza and drink beer. But when somebody's hungry, you need to feed them. In the parish right now, we have this Bundles for Babies program. And the CWL are collecting diapers and whatever else you need for a little baby. I chose celibacy, so I don't really know. I can only go from what my siblings tell me. But a lot of people are struggling. And the thing is, making that choice to have a baby or keep a baby can be very difficult. So what are we doing? If we see young people or an older person with a child and struggling with them, are we stepping up and doing anything? And the thing is, the baby bundle program is a really good program, and it's a great thing to do, and it's a great way to help out. But I sometimes wonder about people in the church when you see that young couple struggling with their 2 or 3 little children and trying to comfort them and trying to, get them behave in church. Well, what do? Do we sit there and pass judgment on it? Do we go tusk? Or do we get up, go over, and offer our help? Because there are many people in every parish that I've ever been in that are parents, grandparents, and have worked with children and have raised children. And sometimes one of the programs is called Divide and Conquer. You need to outnumber the children. But, if mom is there with 3 little kids and, dad is pretending he doesn't know them, or vice versa, they need help. So are we helping? That's the fruits of our labor. That's what God calls us to do. We're called to love one another. And the thing is, we go back to that vine, that root ball, right? Well, what is the root ball of our life? What is the source and summit of everything in our lives? It should be the Eucharist. It should be Jesus Christ. For Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. But he also is the source of all life. If you do not eat my body and drink my blood, you will have no life within you. And from that vine flows the body and blood of Jesus Christ into each and every one of us to make us more divine, more Christ-like. And as we become more Christ-like, the fruits of our labor should increase and become more seen. Yes, he's the vine, we are the branches. Some days we need pruning. Some days we just need to be fertilized and nurtured and encouraged. All of those things you and I are responsible to each other for. But at the end of the day, if we don't eat his body and drink his blood, we will have no life within us. The Eucharist is the source and summit of our life. Is it the most important thing in my life? And, as some people put it, would you lay down your life for the Eucharist? There are many people, even in our world today, who die because of their belief in Jesus Christ. We, in North America, here in Canada, I think sometimes we take it for granted. But it is always the source and summit of our life. For without the Eucharist, we can do nothing. It is April 28th, 2024, and it's the 5th Sunday of the Easter season. May God watch over you, protect you, guard you all the days of your life.